Росія повинна чітко знати, що цивілізовані країни відрізняються від диких тим, що вони ніколи не починають першими і не є агресорами. Але це не значить, що вони слабкі. І не треба проявляти слабкість. Якщо погрожують блекаутом, наприклад, столиці України, то повинні знати в Кремлі, що буде блекаут в столиці Росії.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, September the 27th, coming to you from Nicosia, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And we have some interesting developments going on between Ukraine and Hungary. So yesterday, Hungarian media, they ran a report where they claim that that Ukraine was going to launch a false flag attack into Poland and into Romania. And Hungarian media, they claim that they had information which said that what Ukraine was doing was they were fixing up Russian drones that had landed in Ukraine or that had crashed in Ukraine. They were fixing them up at various facilities. Then they were arming those drones. They were turning the drones into attack drones. Keep in mind, these are Russian drones, okay? So they're fixing them up. They're turning them into attack drones, and then they were going to launch them, or they're about to launch them into Poland and Romania. And of course, the media would then take over, and they would run with the story, with the narrative that Russian drones are striking Poland and Romania, and these are not decoy drones. These are drones equipped with a warhead, and this would lead to some sort of a NATO-Russia hot war. And this was going to be the false flag, according to Hungarian media, that Ukraine was cooking up. And so they reported on this. The Kremlin, of course, picked up on this story. And Maria Zakharova and the Russian Foreign Ministry, they put this story from Hungarian media, they put it on blast, right? They said that Kiev is looking at a false flag provocation. They're putting together a false flag provocation in order to start World War III. That is what the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said. So she put this Hungarian media report on blast. Everyone saw this statement from the Russian Foreign Ministry where they're talking about a Ukraine false flag using drones, Russian drones that they fixed up to strike into Poland and Romania. And so there you have it. A claim from Hungarian media that Ukraine was putting together a false flag operation using Russian drones into Poland and Romania. So on the same day that we got this report from Hungarian media, you have Zelensky coming out with a statement saying that Hungarian reconnaissance drones are over Western Ukraine, and they're picking up intel and information to then pass off to the Kremlin. So this is an allegation that Zelensky makes. He posts it on social media. He makes this allegation accusing Hungary of launching reconnaissance drones over Western Ukraine airspace and passing off the information to Russia. Peter Szijjártó, the Hungarian foreign minister, he responded to Zelensky's allegation, his claim about Hungarian reconnaissance drones, by saying that Zelensky is losing his freaking mind. Szijjártó posted on X in response to Zelensky's post saying President Zelensky is losing his mind to his anti-Hungarian obsession. he's now starting to see things that aren't there. And the foreign minister of Ukraine, Andrei Shiba-Inu, he replied to Peter Siarto on X by posting, "We are starting to see a lot of things, Peter, including your government's hypocrisy and moral degradation, open and covert work against Ukraine and the rest of Europe, serving as a Kremlin lackey. No amount of your attacks on our president will change what we and everyone see." Zelensky's losing his mind, according to the Hungarian foreign minister. So here's what I think is going on. This is just a guess on my part, but here's my take on this story because it's quite interesting. What I think is going on is that Hungarian intel, they got wind of some sort of a Ukraine false flag being put together. They got this intel that Ukraine, they're fixing up Russian drones that crashed in Ukraine. They're fixing them up. They're making them strike capable, and they're going to launch them into Poland and Romania in order to get to some sort of a hot war between NATO and Russia. Now, Hungary, their number one fear, what they've been screaming about, what they've been talking about for the past couple of years, is that this conflict that is taking place very close to Hungary could lead to a war between NATO and Russia and could lead to World War III. This is Hungary's number one concern when it comes to this war, and they say it all the time, right? Hungarian officials talk about this all the time. Orbán, Siarto, they always talk about how dangerous things have become between NATO and Russia, between the EU and Russia. So I think they are concerned about this, and I think they've got their eyes and ears open as to what's going on, and they're they're definitely working overtime to try and prevent some sort of a provocation that could escalate this thing to World War III. So my take on this is that Hungarian intel, they got wind of what's going on. They leaked this information to Hungarian media. Hungarian media posted it. The Kremlin picked it up. They amplified it. Zelensky got busted. He got pissed off. He got busted because Hungary exposed what he was cooking up. And so he runs with a story to cover up and to distract about Hungarian reconnaissance drones over Western Ukraine. That's what I think is going on. That's just a guess on my part, but yeah, it's just too convenient that at the same time that Hungarian media is talking about some sort of Ukraine false flag, Zelensky comes out with a story about Hungarian reconnaissance drones. Why would Hungarian reconnaissance drones be over Western Ukraine in order to pass off information to Russia? Hungary's a part of NATO. Hungary is a part of NATO. You're telling me that Hungarian drones, which are part of NATO, are passing intel to Russia? Wouldn't the United States or NATO know about this? So that's what I think happened. Hungary may have just prevented some sort of World War III escalation, some sort of NATO-Russia escalation. Zelensky, pissed off about this, decided to get his script writers activated and moving so that they can create this Hungarian reconnaissance drone story. And it serves Ukraine because it pushes the narrative about some sort of Orbán Kremlin cooperation or connection, right? And of course, the Europeans are going to side with Ukraine instead of their own member state because they're pissed off at Orbán and at Hungary. So that's what I think is happening here. The Europeans, by the way, they are very close to finally stealing the Russian frozen assets, excuse me, seizing the Russian frozen assets. I don't want to say stealing. That's not what Brussels is looking to do. They're going to replace those Russian frozen assets at Euroclear with IOUs, right? They're going to take the money that is at Euroclear. They're going to hand it to Ukraine, and in its place, they're going to put IOUs. That's not a joke, everybody. I know it's straight out of the movie Dumb and Dumber, but that is exactly the plan that Brussels is talking about, to replace the cash with IOUs sitting in Euroclear, right? So anyway, it's 140 billion that they're going to seize. Just last week, it was 170 billion. Now it's 140 billion every week, every couple of weeks. It gets lower and lower. In 2 weeks, it'll be 100 billion. And in 1 month, it'll be 80 billion. By the time Zelensky gets the money, it'll be like 5 billion. He's going to get 5 billion euros. What is this? It's 5 billion from the Russian frozen assets. What you talk about? You say 250 billion, Podolyak. What is happening, Podolyak? Where's my money? Yeah, man. 140 billion is what they want to hand over to the Green Goblin. And so next week, they're going to have a meeting, and the meeting next week is all about convincing Belgium. So the Prime Minister of Belgium came out with a statement, and he said, no way are we going to take the Russian frozen assets, because if we take the Russian frozen assets, Belgium is cooked. Euroclear is done. Belgium is cooked. The EU is cooked. No one is going to want to invest in the European Union. No one's going to want to put their money with Euroclear, to keep their money with Euroclear. No one's going to invest in Belgium, because you put your money with Euroclear or with Belgium or in the European Union, you're basically signaling that at any moment, the EU can come and just take your money that you have sitting at Euroclear. At any moment, they can just decide, you know what, we want to take this cash. So the Prime Minister of Belgium, rightly so, he is saying, no way am I going to allow this. It's a financial suicide to allow this. So the EU next week, they're going to work to pressure Belgium to go along with this plan. And I imagine that Belgium will fall. They will fold and eventually agree with Ursula and with Merz. And who else is for this? I believe Meloni is for this. I think Macron is against this. But anyway, they're going to eventually, Poland's for this. The Baltics are for this. So I imagine they're going to convince Belgium to go along with this scheme. And then at the end of the month, they're going to have the final meeting, the end of October. They're going to have the final meeting to take the final decision on taking the 140 billion in Russian assets, handing it over to Ukraine, and replacing what's being held at Euroclear with IOU notes. Once again, I'm not joking about this. What Euroclear is going to have is IOU notes. The cash will be given to Ukraine, and Euroclear is going to hold IOU notes. Now, where does Hungary fit into all of this, right? Because we're talking about Hungary at the beginning of the video. So what Hungary has to do with this is that the European Union, they're afraid that Hungary is going to veto this plan. And when you're going to put this stuff to a vote at the European Union, you need all of the member states to approve it. So the European Union, they're worried about a Hungarian veto. So what they are going to do is that they are going to change the voting rules. And they're going to make it so that when it comes to the Russian frozen assets, you don't need all the EU member states to approve the taking of Russian frozen assets. All you're going to need is a majority of EU member states to approve the seizure of the Russian frozen assets. That's going to be their workaround in order to avoid a Hungarian veto. Brussels' eyes loophole to isolate Hungary, send billions in Russian assets to Ukraine, EU legal experts are studying a way to get round the need for unanimity to send 140 billion to Kiev. And the way they're going to get around it is they're just going to change the voting rules. That's it. That is it. They're going to change the voting rules from unanimous to majority. So that's an update on Project Ukraine, on Hungary. And let's talk about, we're not quite done with Project Ukraine. Let's talk about long-range missiles. Because the Telegraph, they put out a report yesterday saying that Zelensky, when he was meeting with US President Trump, he asked Trump for Tomahawk long-range missiles. We're talking 3,000 kilometer range. And he made this ask of Trump. And then Axios, they ran an article where they claim that Trump turned Zelensky down. So Telegraph reports on Zelensky's ask of Trump, I need long-range missiles, Mr. President. And Axios says that Trump turned him down. Now we have reports from the Wall Street Journal, which claim that Trump did not turn Zelensky down and that the Trump administration is actually open to providing long-range missiles. And the Wall Street Journal's article has the title, Trump told Zelensky he was open to providing new long-range weapons, officials say. Trump didn't commit to ending restrictions his administration has had in place for months. So Axios reports that Trump turned down Zelensky's ask for long-range missiles, for Tomahawks, and the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Trump did not turn down Zelensky's request for long-range missiles. He didn't approve the request, but he didn't turn it down. I believe Trump turned down Zelensky. I don't believe the Wall Street Journal reporting on this one. But I did say in my video update yesterday that it's possible that Trump, who is trying to paint the picture of walking away from Project Ukraine, of washing his hands of Project Ukraine, it's very possible that as he is presenting this picture of walking away from Ukraine, that as he is on his way out, he gives the approval for Tomahawk missiles to be launched into Russia. It's very possible. Personally, I don't believe the Wall Street Journal reporting. I hope the Wall Street Journal reporting is fake and false. I hope the Axios reporting is accurate, where they say that Trump turned Zelensky down. But it is possible that Trump is flipping and flopping, and he just may end up flopping to approving Tomahawk missiles into Russia. And those Tomahawk missiles that could be fired into Russia would not be fired by Ukraine. They would be fired by NATO. And this would be a huge, massive escalation. It would be a red line for Russia that would be crossed. And I believe that the response from Russia would be Oreshniks. Oreshniks into Ukraine. That would be the first level response from Russia, not into Europe. I believe the first response would be for Oreshniks to be launched into Ukraine if long-range missiles, Tomahawks, are fired into the Russian Federation. But once again, I believe the Axios reporting. I don't believe the Wall Street Journal reporting. But with Trump, I'm not 100% on this. So since we're talking about Oreshniks, by the way, no one talks about the flamingos anymore, huh? You notice that? Remember the flamingos, Ukraine's long-range missile that they were developing that was going to be the wonder weapon, game changer, that Ukraine was going to be manufacturing and producing the flamingos? We don't talk about that anymore. The Sapsan missile, which was just a tourist missile with a new name, That was going to be the wonder weapon. Very sneaky of Mertz, right? The Sapsan, well, that was obliterated by the Russian military. Then they started to talk about the Flamingo. And now they're not talking about the Flamingo anymore, right? There's some music back there. So let me move on. Some loud music. Where's this music coming from? Oh, man. I'm going to turn down the audio. All right. I don't even remember what I was saying. Music. Music is the worst thing when you're recording outside, man. It is the worst. It's the worst thing when you get music. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, the Flamingo. They don't even talk about the Flamingo anymore. Now they're back to talking about Tomahawks, right? It's the Tomahawk long-range missile that's going to be the wonder weapon. Flamingo, forget about it. Forget about the Flamingo hype. So since we're talking about Oreshniks, Lukashenko, he said that Oreshniks are going to be in Belarus any day now. Oreshniks are in Belarus. And Lukashenko, he also said that he wants to meet with the Green Goblin. He said he wants to take a meeting with the Green Goblin, and the reason he wants to meet with the Green Goblin is he wants to try and convince Zelensky to take the deal that is on the table, Istanbul Plus, to take it, because he's not going to get a better deal. And the more he delays in accepting Istanbul Plus, he said the worse it's going to be for Ukraine, and eventually there's not going to be a Ukraine. So that was what Lukashenko said. But the big story is that Oreshniks will be in Belarus very, very soon. So Belarus is going to have some serious military power with them. Let's put that there. I think we can finish out the video from here. All right, let's move on and talk about Trump and Gaza. Trump says that he has a deal. He says he has a deal when it comes to Gaza, very close to a deal. He's working with all the countries in the Middle East. And according to Trump and Witkoff, they are very confident that they will get a deal in Gaza, a ceasefire deal in Gaza. And much of the deal revolves around Israel, the IDF leaving Gaza, and Middle East military and security forces coming into Gaza. So that's what we know about this deal that is being put together. Trump, he was speaking to the media, and he said that they're very close to getting everything agreed on. And he then said that this would be peace deal number 8. That's what he said. He said this would be peace deal number 8. Quote, looking like we have a deal in Gaza. That is a direct quote from the U.S. president. Not bad, huh? Cambodia, Albania, Azerbaijan, and Albania. And now Trump claims he is almost at number 8.
I think we have maybe a deal on Gaza, very close to a deal on Gaza. How are you? Hello, Peter. And it still feel like we have a deal on Gaza. and we'll let you know. Mr. President, I think it's a deal that will get the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that will end the war. It's going to be a deal which it's going to be peace. I think we have a deal. That'll be number 8, Peter, not the
So that would be number 8 for Trump. And Netanyahu, he spoke at the UN General Assembly yesterday. And of the 193 countries in attendance at the UN, 170 countries, I believe, walked out. Around 170 countries walked out before Netanyahu's speech, and then they returned to the auditorium when Netanyahu finished his speech at the United Nations. Netanyahu, during his speech at the UN, he said that Iran tried to kill Trump twice. I don't know where he's coming up with that one. That's just an outright lie, that Iran tried to kill Trump twice. He's referring to the 2 times that Trump was, well, the one time that someone tried to shoot at Trump, and then the Ryan Ruth incident at the golf course. That's what I imagine Netanyahu is referring to when he said that Iran tried to kill Trump twice, trying to make it as if Iran was behind both of those attempted assassinations. Not true. Not true at all. Anyway, Netanyahu dubbed the wave of recognitions of Palestine recognitions as shameful, sheer madness, and insane. What you're doing is giving the ultimate reward to intolerant fanatics who perpetrated and supported the Sabbath massacre, giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7 is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11, he claimed. Netanyahu vowed to finish the job of eliminating Hamas militias in Gaza, also referring to a QR code on his jacket that links to the October 7 atrocities website. It's an interesting statement where for Netanyahu to talk about Al-Qaeda as 1 mile from New York City after September 11, right? That's an interesting statement, given that at the United Nations, the star of the UN General Assembly was none other than Al-Qaeda member and leader al-Jawlani in New York City, right? Al-Jawlani from Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, leader of Al-Qaeda, one of the leaders of Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, in New York City, and Netanyahu in his speech talks about Al-Qaeda and New York City. Anyway, that was Netanyahu, and the Colombian president. He has had his U.S. visa revoked, and he got it revoked. So he was at the United Nations. He gave his speech. He really lashed out at the United States during his UN speech. But then he joined protesters who were outside of the UN protesting Netanyahu's appearance at the United Nations. And as he was speaking to protesters, he called on American soldiers to disobey the orders of Trump and the U.S. State Department. They said that because the president of Colombia told American soldiers to disobey the president of the United States, what the U.S. State Department was going to do was to revoke his visa. So the Colombian president has had his visa to the United States revoked. So a couple more stories, and then we'll do a clown world. The Washington Post is reporting that there are new details about the Department of War's meeting that is going to take place, where 800 top-level military officials will gather in Virginia. And according to the Washington Post, what this meeting is about is it is about the Department of War, the structure of the Department of War, a restructuring of the Department of War, and for Pete Hegseth to get everyone on the same page and to get everyone pumped up about about the warrior ethos of the Department of War under Hegseth's leadership. New details emerge on Hegseth's unusual mass gathering of top brass. The defense secretary is expected to lecture about the warrior ethos for less than an hour, according to multiple people familiar with the event, but top generals are bracing for possible firings or demotions. Yeah, a restructuring of the U.S. military, of the Department of War, and Pete Hegseth talking about his vision for the Department of War and the Pentagon. That's what this event is going to be about, at least according to various media reports. And finally, before we get to our clown world, we are getting reports of the United States preparing for some sort of a strike on Venezuela, a missile and drone strike, according to NBC News, that could be happening in a couple of weeks. And according to their sources, the United States is going to be targeting drug facilities, drug targets, drug facilities. That is what they are going to go after in a missile and drone strike on Venezuela. I imagine you're going to be looking at some sort of a decapitation strike on Maduro and top government officials in Venezuela to get some sort of decapitation strike, and then that would lead to some sort of a regime change in Venezuela. I think that's the plan. But NBC News is saying that they're going to go after drug targets in this strike that is going to be happening, according to NBC News, in a couple of weeks. U.S. preparing options for military strikes on drug targets inside Venezuela, sources say. President Donald Trump has not approved any action yet, and the U.S. and Venezuela are talking through Middle Eastern intermediaries, sources told NBC News. So let's do a clown world, and we can wrap this video up. And we'll start things off with Denmark and the drones over Denmark. The police in Denmark are telling people to stop calling them every time they see flashing lights in the skies. Yep. You knew this was going to happen, right? People are so freaked out now over the whole drone incident over Denmark that they're now calling the police in Denmark nonstop, and they're telling them about flashing lights in the sky and drone, what they believe to be drone sightings. And the police, well, they're just getting flooded with calls, and they're telling the people to just calm down and stop calling them. Well, you wanted panic. You wanted Russophobia panic. Yeah, now you got Russophobia panic, right? Drone panic. That's what you wanted. Now you got it. By the way, there were allegedly drones over Lithuania yesterday, and there were drones over Germany yesterday. Oh man, I bet you these are just YouTubers. YouTubers with their drones. They're just trying to film content, man. That's it. That's all that's going on. Anyway, yeah, so that's what's happening in Denmark. And in the UK, there is a petition which has now received 1.3 million signatures at the time of recording this video, maybe even more, maybe 1.5 million signatures against Stammer's digital ID. Yeah, the people are speaking out in the UK. They want nothing to do with a digital ID. And in less than 24 hours, they've had millions of signatures on this petition against a digital ID. Stammer, when he announced the UK digital ID, the mandatory UK digital ID, he said that it was going to be an ID that would be free, a free of charge digital ID. That's what Stammer said. Why complain, everybody? Why are you guys complaining about a digital ID? I'm making it free. I'm making it free. Someone in the comments on X, I posted Stammer's video where he says it's a free digital ID, and someone in the comments on X rightly pointed out that when something is free, it means that you are the product, right? Whenever they're giving away something for free, it means that you're the product. So yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, that is the video, theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble and X and Telegram, and go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video update. I will see everyone tomorrow. Take care.